All right. Good morning. Dr. P back here again to talk to you about how to start a food business. And I am bringing you this short series every morning just and watch or listen to while you are working out or getting your coffee together. Coffee. My husband roasts our coffee and it's amazing. So it's another beautiful day here. And my oldest child turned 11 today and we're super, super proud of him. So happy birthday, Zachary. So I am coming to you today with episode 2 of how to start a food business. And this morning we are going to talk about minimum viable product. Okay. This is a concept that came over to us from Silicon Valley. Minimum viable product is like what's the absolute like smallest thing that you can get out into the universe and test your product and make money and that sort of thing. And it's a really, 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 really good idea. And lots of people have have adopted this, but I do food safety for a living. And my idea of what is a minimum viable product and your idea of what a minimum viable product are probably two different things. But more importantly, your regulator's idea of what a minimum viable product is and your idea of what a minimum viable product is probably also different. And guess which opinion counts? It's the opinion of your regulators. So I'm here to tell you of the opinion of your regulators. All right. So there are actually two opinions that count. It's your regulators and it's the people who are to buy. So the people who are going to buy from you need certain food safety documentation, and your regulators need food safety documentation. So right now, I'm speaking specifically to food manufacturers. Okay, meat, poultry, dairy, cannabis, hemp. Um, just about anybody else. If you run a restaurant, okay, and you've already passed, like you're thinking of starting your restaurant, there is also minimum viable documentation that you need for your restaurant. And if you are suing as somebody who is starting up a sausage factory, all right, here's how all of this works. All right, we are regulated at different levels in the universe. We're regulated at the local level, and that's like your food code inspections. These are state and locality level food safety regulations. These are the ones that you learn when you go take ServSafe. All right. Those are appropriate for restaurants, for catering businesses. So, if that's the food business that you are starting, you need to go and find out what your local food code says. There are lots of people around to help you with that. All right. You can start with your SBDC, the Small Business Development Corporation. You can go get yourself a SCORE mentor. Lots of people help you start businesses, and that's kind of on the business side. I think of me as like your SCORE mentor for the actual food safety regulations and the life coaching that goes along with making sure you meet those regulations. Okay. So, local food basically done by your local food inspection and your local food code. All right. Then we have national levels of food safety regulations. That's USDA and FDA. And there are some things to note about that. If you are doing meat and poultry, okay, you may be state inspected. There are, I think, 23 states that have state inspection. If you have questions about that, just ask. It's really easy for me to answer, and it will take me 30 seconds to answer you. Just ask me a question. It's totally fine. All right. And then there's state meat and poultry inspection. There in things like dairy, there are state raw dairy laws. I live in Maine. We have a raw dairy regulation. All right. We're probably going to have a post sometime soon on the channel, not in the how to start a food business, but in how food works, talking about raw milk. Okay. So then we have state laws around a variety of individual kinds of substances. So, like last week, Utah passed a kratom law making kratom legal in Utah. Cannabis and hemp have state level regulations. There are states where cannabis is legal medically. I think there are 27 of them. There are states where cannabis is legal recreationally. It's theoretically legally recreationally here in Maine, except we don't have any access to it. It's a little strange. But Colorado and Washington are where cannabis is legal recreationally. And then of course, medically legal in many, many, many states. California being the oldest. So there are some gray areas in that, and if you're going into cannabis and hemp industry, it's super important to know how it's regulated in your state and what you can do in your state, because it varies widely from state to state. So for instance, in New York, if you're doing hemp, you are regulated. They have adopted the FDA dietary supplement regulation, and that's what you have to live up to. And then if you are in other states, all you have to do is meet the local food code, or you have to meet the Food Safety Modernization Act. It is all over the map. Don't think that just because they passed something in the Farm Bill that it's all cleared up, because it really, really isn't. Get in touch if you have questions. All right. So that's hemp and marijuana and things like that. All right. So then there's a whole bunch of things that the FDA regulates. They regulate fish, they regulate juice, they regulate dietary supplements, they regulate what's it called? Low acid canned foods. So that's foods that actually have a high pH, because that means they're not very acidic, so low acid. So there are special things that you need about that. There are things around canning. What else? Probably, and then there's all the regular food that's like regulated under the preventive controls plan. I have a ton of information on all of this on my podcast, so go like dive into the podcast and look at that sort of stuff. I've written a ton about it. Come to the Facebook page, read about stuff on the Facebook page. If you have questions, ask about how you are regulated. That is what I'm here for. I would much rather like give you 3 minutes of my time telling you how you're regulated than for you to come back to me and say I'm in trouble with the feds, because that's miserable for everybody. All right. So that's your regulation. You must understand what regulations you have to meet. Yes, there are exemptions. Okay. People come to me about FSMA and like, I'm exempt from FSMA. I'm exempt from FSMA. Let me tell you about exemptions. Okay. The one I'm really going to talk about is, because it's the easiest to understand, is the preventive controls rule. All right. So in 2011, Obama signed in the Food Safety Modernization Act. The movement to create the Food Safety Modernization Act started in the aughts with a whole bunch of really bad foodborne illness outbreaks. Okay. And everybody got together and they updated the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act and added in the Food Safety Modernization Act. It's 21 CFR 117. All right. And it updated good manufacturing practices. And it's actually 7 different laws. And one of those laws is the preventive controls rule. All right. And the preventive controls rule states that you must, no matter what size your business, control for food safety hazards in your food. And it's incredibly important that you do that, because without controlling for food safety hazards in your food, you're going to make people sick. Okay. I was having a conversation with somebody online who wants to cold smoke chicken for 8 to 10 hours at like 100 degrees. That's a recipe for giving people salmonella. We don't do that. All right. So you have to understand the fundamental science behind what you are doing. Okay. So that is part of your minimum viable product. And the Food Safety Modernization Act now tells you that you must, no matter your size, and this was actually always the case, follow good manufacturing practices. Good manufacturing practices got updated, friends. Okay, there's a whole lot more about allergen and cross-contamination and labeling and training and documentation. All right, that's 21 CFR 117 Part B. Go read it. Everybody has to follow that one. It's not, I'm small, so I don't have to do GMPs. No, ma'am. All right, so that's that part. And then Part C is the preventive controls rule. Okay. And the preventive controls rule says if you have a hazard that is known or reasonably foreseeable, then you have to control for it. Okay, great. Further, it says if you make more than $500,000 a year in your business, you have to document that control in something called a preventive controls plan. Fabulous. I teach classes and how to write preventive controls plans. They're available everywhere. Go take one if you make more than $500,000 a year. Okay. Most of the people that come to me as startups are not making $500,000 a year out the gate. Okay. So what it says about people who are making under $500,000 a year is that you have to be able to prove that you are controlling for food safety hazards. Those are the physical, chemical, microbial things that can go wrong with food. Well, I have news for you, my friend. The way you prove that you are controlling for food safety hazards is by writing a preventive controls plan. That's the easiest way to do it. You can figure out how not to do it, but I'm in the business of helping my clients sleep at night. Okay. And so if you are in food manufacturing, if you are wholesaling, you are selling things across state lines, you are selling things far away. All right. Or you have dreams of selling over Amazon or selling through Whole Foods or getting into Trader Joe's or any of these things that people dream of when they go into food manufacturing, you are going to need a preventive controls plan at the very start of what you are doing, not because the government requires it, even though they require you to be able to prove that you are controlling for food safety hazards. You're going to need it because your customers require it. You have to be out there solving a problem in the universe for your customers. Okay. And if you're not doing that, you don't have a business. So your minimum viable product must include the food safety documentation that your customers want. Okay. And for some large customers, that is a Global Food Safety Initiative audit. Okay. GFSI, you can Google it. It's an ISO-based food safety standard. Right? And ISO is the International Standards Organization. It is the manufacturing standards on saying, what are you doing? Did you say what you were going to do? Did you do what you said? And is it helpful? Okay. There's so much out there about ISO and lean manufacturing and all of that sort of stuff. You can Google it all. I'm not going to talk about a lot of this, but you must find out if the people through whom you want to distribute or sell require an SQF or a BRC audit or something like that. Okay. And if the answer is yes, then your minimum viable product must be something that can pass an SQF or a BRC audit. And that means you have a facility that is squared away. That means that you have somebody who is a food safety practitioner that has been trained formally in HACCP. If you are if you're in a preventive controls, they have to be a PCQI. All right. If you are importing stuff, they have to understand how to do your foreign supplier verification programming. They have to be able to understand SQF or BRC or FSC 2200, all of these like brand name schemes that you would get audited under. They must work for your company. And I will tell you, this is basically a full-time job, even if you're just starting. Okay. And so if you're a solopreneur and you're going into food manufacturing, you are going to need to dedicate at the outset like 9 to 10% of your overall budget for food safety, like food safety documentation. And that's whether you call me in to do it. That's how much it costs. All right. It takes you way more time than it takes me. And that's fine. If you want it done fast, that's why you call me. But if you want to do it yourself, you've got a budget to pay yourself for that time. It takes a long time. It's going to take you 40 hours to write a preventive controls plan or a HACCP plan. Because I've seen my clients do it. They want to do it themselves. It's amazing. They get so much out of learning how to do it. That's why they take my classes. But it takes you 40 hours. That 40 hours isn't free. Okay. So your minimum viable product must include not only what the regulations expect of you, but what your customers expect of you. Okay. And that understanding is something you absolutely must come to grips with, because here is mostly what I see. All right. So the circumstance is you need a GFSI audit. All right. So this is an unintentional model. All right. So unintentional model. And the thought is, I'm confused. You don't know what it is. All right. You maybe turn, and look at my or listen to my podcast or watch some of these things or follow me on Facebook or whatever. Okay. And you have a thought, oh my God, I'm confused. This thought leads to overwhelm. And your action, all right, is spinning. All right. You are going to dive into Googling, and you're going to Google. All right. And you're going to do something called buffering, which is doing all the things and trying to make yourself feel better by like surfing, food porn. And it never works, and it never lets us get anything done. And what happens is when you spin and you spend your whole life Googling and you buffer and you go out for a drink or whatever, you stay in confusion. All right. This is your before. This is where so many of my clients are. Okay. Here. Breaking, because it doesn't have to be that way. All right. So here's what I want to get to you this morning. Let's get an intentional model going. It's a little messy, but whatever. It's early. Everybody have another cup of coffee. All right. So the circumstance stays the same, GFSI audit. All right. And the thought is, what if the thought is, I can serve my client? Okay. If you try that thought on for size, how's that thought feel? That thought probably feels a lot more like competent. All right. And then your actions are going to be ones to understand what your client, you're going to understand your client's specs. All right. And then you're going to build, running out of space here. Build your minimum viable product to this client spec. That's what you have to do. That's what you have to be out there doing, is building this minimum viable product. All right. And then you will actually be serving your clients. So if you come to this like, I'm so confused, and Dr. P, you're so expensive, and I don't understand what my clients really need, you're never going to get it done. And your clients aren't going to want to work with you, because that's like really crazy energy to put out in the universe. And that's not what you decided to go into business for, right? I mean, it's totally okay to be here in confusion and overwhelm, but you have to decide whether or not you want to stay in confusion and overwhelm, or if you want to get yourself to a point where you're serving your clients. Because that's how you start a food business, is by going out and serving your clients all the things that they need, not just by making perfect food. All right, that's what we got for you this morning. Everybody have a fantastic day. We're here if you need us. Talk to you later. Bye.